Welcome to Sustainable Sailing. It's currently raining, so we thought we would sit down and have a chat with you about
what is sustainability?
Yeah.
Because it's a word that gets thrown around. Lots of people make lots of bold claims about it.
Might be a bit unfounded.
Rather than the more difficult area of sustainability when it comes to the environment, we've always said that we wanted this sailing experience, this sailing channel, to be about wider understandings of sustainability as well. Money, for example.
That is a more obvious way in which things can be sustainable. If you can't keep doing it year after year, it's definitely not sustainable.
Yeah. Blow all your savings on your first year of sailing and have to sell the boat and fly home, you failed spectacularly at being sustainable. Obviously, that idea of being sustainable money-wise is easier if you happen to start with more money.
Well, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
Although we are both working at the moment, so we can use that to pay for things up front that we won't be able to afford to buy later.
Yeah, very simply then, sustainability for us is, can we carry on sailing for initially 5 years without running out of money? That's one example of sustainability. Another is about our mental health.
Will we go mad being stuck on a boat in too many storms?
Sadly, we see people who have been sailing around the world and have stopped because their mental health reached a point where continuing felt bad for them. We don't want to be in that situation. So the way that we do our sailing has got to support, strengthen, sustain
positive
mental health.
Positive for your mental health. Obviously, it's not possible to decide all of that in advance. You have to try it and find out which aspects are positive and which less so, and then make choices as you go.
What do we find the most stressful situations? How do we prepare for them? How do we manage them?
Although there is one way in which we did attempt to promote our positive mental health, which was by choosing a boat with an aft cabin. Because we know that we're not always very compatible when it comes to sleeping times.
This is very true, but
we needed more than one space so that one of us could be awake and the other asleep and not disturb each other.
Also, that does happen to be a positive when it comes to watch keeping.
Yeah.
That Jane's much better at doing watch keeping early in the morning, and I'm much better doing it late at night. So we'll just have to make it so we meet in the middle somewhere. Okay, so mental health, clearly, in one sense, the outcome is obvious. Have you had to give up sailing or anything else you're trying to do because of it's been dragging you down, making it so that you don't want to continue or cannot continue? Physical is another aspect about whether things are sustainable. And in one sense, having a monohull with not much automation means that our physical health is needed to carry on sailing. I think what we're hoping, is that the actual act of sailing helps us
keep us fit, because we won't be automating everything. So if anything, it will continue the same. It won't be, you've got everything automated, then it breaks and you're not able to do it because you haven't got that level of fitness.
So that would be one aspect of it being unsustainable if you get reliant on things that might break.
We're hoping that having a ketch will mean that the size of the sails and the strength that you need to put them up and so forth will be more suited to us than it would be with a fast racing.
These all fit together, don't they? Because we can't afford a bigger boat. But if you get a bigger boat, then you need either more automation, which costs you more money, or you need to be fitter.
Stronger, have a bigger crew.
Scaling it appropriately helps fit these things together. If you go for too large a boat, then you're going to be stressed financially, you're going to be stressed with your mental health, worrying about everything, and you're going to have your physical health be a concern if things break that you are reliant on. Okay, so hopefully that gives the idea of what we mean by sustainability. Can you carry on doing something? All of those are figured very much around ourselves.
Yes.
When we come to environmental sustainability, then it's not just about ourselves, and
It's about our impact.
it's
on the
about
world
our
around
impact
us.
on other people, on the world around us. People have different views on how significant that must be and on what to do about it. At the moment, I don't think it would be possible to make a claim that you could have a net zero impact when it came to your carbon footprint, for example. Even if you are growing all your, you've got land and you're growing all your own food, you're still going to need to buy in things that other people have made, whether it be tools or clothing or material to make other things from. You wouldn't realistically at the moment be able to claim no impact at all on other people.
And some things are out of your control.
Two of the areas in which we found that frustrating for ourselves are things that have been outside our control. One is that we've been living in a house provided by the Methodist Church, where we've moved 3 times for the job, and so each time they provide us with somewhere to live while we're working. We get no say in that choice of house, no say in its footprint, in whether it's got solar panels and so on. There's good things that are said at a national level, but then it all gets decided locally, and the person living there, you don't get any say.
That has been a frustrating experience.
Having no control over where we live has been one of the costliest things for us in my work. Another area that's outside our control is what the government and what the country decides to do. The last more than a decade were very frustrating in terms of governments who were not acting to safeguard the planet for future generations, even really the current generations. And part of the beauty for us of sailing off around the world is we're somewhat distanced, aiming to be somewhat distanced from foolish people in Westminster lining their own pockets. There's some things you've got more control over, some things you've got no control over, and actually it's worth mentioning that that control over your impact is governed to some extent by things like poverty. Those living in poverty don't get much control.
Yes, I was going to say it's somewhat of a privilege to be complaining that our housing provided isn't giving us what we want in terms of sustainability. Most people don't have a lot of choice over that, really.
Depends on your landlord. What are they willing to do? And it's very much influenced by the government. So the fact that successive governments have never passed any legislation requiring homes that are rented out to be habitable, let alone energy efficient, means that large numbers of people get no choice at all when it comes to what's one of their biggest impacts on the environment.
And we have been looking long term towards our retirement, and wondering how we were going to do that in a sustainable way and to improve our feelings of control over those aspects of our life. And we had various attempts at thinking about that and how that was going to work for the last, how long, 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And this is sort of our current version of that, really, in a way, our sustainable sailing plan.
The other thing, and I guess this is going to be one of the most controversial things we say, is that because sustainability, in our view, it needs to challenge ourselves and our choices. For those people who are not stuck because of their financial situation or because of injustices put upon them, if they're stuck, if you're not in that position, then sustainability becomes all about the choices that you make. And are your choices essentially governed by thinking about your impact on others, thinking about justice for others, or are they governed by selfish choices or by your greed? It's fairly straightforward to say that if your choice is that you are going to drive a very fast, very fuel inefficient car, then what you have actually done is make a selfish choice that harms others for your own pleasure. And that actually is unpleasant to think about, that we don't want to see what we're doing as being selfish and harming others.
So I think people tend to try to ignore, and I think the government doesn't want to put a pressure on us to make those choices. They're just hoping
It'll all go away.
Go away, yes. So it is very controversial, and it is a personal opinion of ours, and we're not wanting to
Tell the whole world that they're selfish.
Ever since before our children were born, we've tried to make choices that were positive for the environment. We done a lot of cycling when our children were young. We used bikes to get around because we thought everyone would soon be doing that because it was so much better for the environment. And to our absolute astonishment, the world has not transformed into a place where everyone thinks about the environment all the time. We made a pact to ourselves to stop flying on our holidays and only for essential flights for work.
Which means we haven't flown for 20 years.
Yes, and still other people don't see it that way. And even making things like that on Facebook is considered outrageously controversial and reducing other people's freedom in an unacceptable way. So we understand that we're very controversial, but this is how we are. And we're presenting ourselves as we are on this video, saying that our choices are intended to be to really minimize our own footprint so that despite the world appearing to go to hell in a handcart, we are doing our best to
make it a better place.
Make it a better place.
And
yes.
And we really don't want that to appear like, oh, we're making life worse for ourselves. We don't in any way see that we have suffered for doing things that have turned out to be less harmful to other people. Riding a bike is incredibly pleasurable.
You could try it. It's surprising how you might find that if you catch a ferry and ride a bike for your holiday instead of flying somewhere exotic.
Fantastic holiday a few years ago where we went to France and we cycled along the length of the Loire. So ferry, train to get there, and we had a fantastic holiday. We're not claiming that sailing around the world is a hardship. It's a great privilege to be able to even think about doing it. We are expecting to have an absolutely fantastic time doing it.
And neither do we think that everybody is going to want to sail around the world. We're very aware from the responses of everybody else.
That seems a bit strange to us that you don't want to do it. But if you don't
want to do that.
But when we're making a choice to do something that is very much a privilege, then it seems to us only, incredibly obvious that we would want to do that in a way that isn't going to hurt others. When we're saying we're going to sail around the world sustainably, we're not going to achieve sailing around the world with zero carbon footprint because we have had to buy loads of epoxy resin for this boat to get her ready to refit her, ready to do this. There's lots of gear we're going to be buying and so on, and none of that is going to have come without any impact. But when we're actually out sailing, we're focused on making it so that it's not hurting people where we're going to visit their community. No poop in their bays and their rivers and their harbours. We're not using fossil fuels, which are going to raise sea levels.
Minimal anyway.
As little as we can ourselves as possible. And that is not a hardship. We instead of having a very loud, costly diesel engine running, we will go along more slowly, gently, sailing much more often, and using an electric motor when the sun has generated enough power for us to do so. We don't think we're wearing a hair shirt or doing anything unpleasant, but what we are doing is trying to think about what
the impact is. It may be helped by our getting on in years. Some things in terms of perspective can be easier as you're older. You don't have the same urgency to climb the ladder of success, or the same urgency to tick off items from a list of destinations. We don't want that feeling.
And because our focus is on the actual sailing, we're not needing to sail to a timetable with lots of destinations to tick off that we've gone to. We're out to just enjoy the process. That I know is going to be long-winded because we're very passionate about this. We think it's really important, and we don't like the way that the idea of caring about others is presented as if you're crazy for doing it. We think this is life-giving, life-affirming for ourselves, for others, for the world.
Fundamentally, it stems from our Christian faith.
Yeah.
Because we believe that we should care for everybody. Everybody has as much right as each other to be here, is loved by God, and needs to be respected.
Absolutely. That fits with justice themes as well. It's about care of God's creation. It's about justice for all people. They all matter because they're all loved. And that guides how we think about it. It means that we get tremendous joy and hope from sharing with other people and seeing them thrive, rather than us having possessions that somebody else has told us make us feel more important or more valuable. And the great thing about all of that is that in giving joy and getting your joy from what others are able to do is entirely sustainable. It doesn't run out. It does not depend on fossil fuels. It does not depend on finite resources. Sustainability is just a fantastic concept right across the board.
It's about everybody being able to achieve it, not just those with wealth and privilege. Everybody, whatever their circumstances, being able to live a life which is fulfilling and joyful.
Yeah. As we've said, we recognise that having a boat, being able to contemplate sailing, stopping work and sailing around the world is a great privilege. So that's what we hope to be able to share as part of this journey. There's going to be some fantastic places where we get to meet and share with local communities that otherwise we would never get to see and enjoy. And there's loads of YouTube channels where we do see that.
Yes,
as people.
Those are our favourite ones to watch.
Yeah. Go around rather than focused on what can I get out of this, thinking about,
what's my learning? What am I finding out? What am I sharing?
Yeah. And not what I'm taking out of that community's limited resources. We have rambled on for a very long time, and we will, hopefully it shows more of what we're about and why we're doing this, and what it means for us to say that we're aiming towards sustainable sailing. Thank you for watching.
If you've got it this far, you're a champion.
Yeah, and you definitely deserve to give us a like and subscribe. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.